There was this parable in Matthew 25 called the parable of the talents. Heard of the parable of the talents, anyone? It's a famous parable of Jesus. Did you know Jesus talked about investing your money and that God wants a return on investment from us? Did you know that? Well, the parable of the talents was about that. And in that parable, there's a master who represents God, and he gives each of his servants a talent. Now, a talent is not how we use the word talent today. A talent then was a very large sum of money. In fact, it was about 20 years' wages. A modern equivalent would be $600,000 to $1 million. And so the master gives his servant this big financial investment. He goes away, and he comes back after a time, and he wants to see the return on investment that he got. Now, a few of those servants were faithful. They doubled their money. But then there was a third servant who buried his talent. And look what the master, who represents God, said to that servant. "You wicked and slothful servant." That's not what you want God to say to you. "You ought to have invested my money with the bankers, and at my coming I would have at least received what was my own with interest." Now, of course, that parable can apply to so many things, like God's gospel investment in us, what we do with our time, what we do with our energy, when I stand before God, how I pastored this church, things like that. But there are principles for our money too. And the lesson is, don't be so afraid of what's happening in the world all the time that you never get started.